What is up, hooligans and spacenoids? I am just a simple new type, and in this episode we are returning to the 1-year war as we continue our coverage of We Are Federation Hooligans. Last time, Yuji stole Eddie's panties. The hooligans helped as stunt pilots for a movie, and Yuji showed the team why he is called the Zombie GM. In this episode, a celebration will be cut short as Zeon sneaks onto the base from underground and attacks EFF. So let's get into this. We get a catch-up by the narrator in the form of an old-timey newsreel. I might as well do the voice. Terrorism. They took away our families, our friends, our lovers, and stained our Mother Earth with blood. Never give up. Thanks to the hands of White Base, Gamma was defeated, Odessa captured, and Seattle recovered. It's time to fight back. California Base is the only remaining Zeon holdout. Will we take back what belongs to us, gentlemen?
I'm doing my part too.
Tomorrow, everyone will head out for an all-out push on California Base. Today, EFF is holding a parade for the final push, which they call the departure ceremony. Yuji watches himself on the big screen. The director of the movie comes over to thank him. He was able to get footage of a real battle thanks to Yuji. He tells him women will be falling for him left and right. He is pumped and ready for the day. Meanwhile, General GUNPLA, oh my god, this dog's face. It is adorable. Unlike Colonel Bailey's face. Oof, that's rough. He is the manager of the California Base departure ceremony. Currently, they are at Ellsworth Base, which is the closest they could get before entering Zeon territory. I assume this is Ellsworth Air Force Base in South Dakota. We know that EFF took back Seattle, so let's assume parts of Oregon and Montana as well. So currently, California Base territory consists of California, Nevada, Utah, Colorado, and Wyoming. Remember, California Base is a collection of bases around the West Coast. It isn't specifically California. Some manga writers forget this, so I am glad this one remembers. They could detect Minovsky particles up to 2,500 miles, and they have 12 Big Tray class cannons mounted on the outer wall. They also have the Cockatrice Corps on guard. Heh. Cockatrice. They are also an instructor corps. It doesn't seem like Nemesis will be needed. Peter Ford is with Bailey. Meanwhile, Yuji is trying to get the attention of the people and is failing. Ensign Sherry Ford is on leave today and calls out to Yuji, referring to him as Little Yuji. He calls her a skank. After arguing, Sherry refers to Desao as Uncle Saki. She tells him that Desao and Peter Ford, her dad, were good friends when in the military academy. Yuji can't see Desao and Ford being friends. Yuji takes a break and visits the Cockatrice Corps doing a show for the people. He goes to the vending machine to grab a Mam Cola, but a man named Suhan cuts in front of Yuji and grabs a Mam Cola first. When Yuji goes to get one for himself, it is out of order. Suhan got the last one. Suddenly, someone recognizes Yuji as the Zombie Jim. He finally has a fan. Suhan eats an amiibo in front of Yuji and calls it weak. This is Yuji's favorite snack. He feels offended. Someone needs to tell Yuji that his taste is trash. Johnson and the Cockatrice Corps introduce himself to Yuji. The two look forward to fighting side by side. Desao is worried about the base being attacked, but Ford tells him to stop worrying. Saki gives emergency orders for the Nemesis team to regroup. Eddie is in the hover truck and she senses something from underground approaching fast. Outside of the base, one Type 61 tank flies off and crashes. 10 seconds until it makes contact. Out of the ground bursts the AG. The EMS-05 AG was built at California Base after Zeon captured it and was designed to attack the underground base Jaburo. This mobile suit bores and digs through rocks. It has 2 hover jets and treads instead of standard legs. This unit is equipped with a laser torch for cutting and a large drill as well as a rock grinder. Some units have been retrofitted with missile launchers, but these aren't designed for combat. It is accompanied by Zaku's. All hell breaks loose and the civilians begin running. Bailey realizes that the Big Tray cannons can't aim inward towards the city and they are useless. Yuji gets into the GM Striker, but Johnson and the Cockatrice team say they will handle it in their GMs. The AG uses its drill on Johnson's gym, tearing it apart. Yuji goes in to attack the AG. He holds it back as the generals make their escape. They aren't after the generals, however. Remember, last episode we learned that there are underground caverns throughout this area. It was used pre-Universal Century to store nuclear weapons. Eddie realizes they are carrying a nuke underground. As Yuji sneaks around, an ACT guy sneaks up behind him. Eddie is trying to get in contact with Desao, but short-range communication is being jammed. Ford wants Bailey to give command to him since he messed this up, but he refuses. He is informed that all base units have been taken out already. However, the Nemesis team is holding building their own. Ford says, actually, Saki Desao should take command on this mission. As a bomb hits close by, Bailey gives command to Desao. As he makes moves, he thinks back to 22 years ago at the military academy in Paris. One of the professors is not necessarily preaching the ideas of controlism, but rather simply saying it is only a matter of time. He also believes that EFF's reach isn't wide and Spacenoids will rise up. One guy stands up and calls him a Spacenoid sympathizer, but he is unwavering in his beliefs. Running late to the class is a young Saki Desao. Later, he is tasked with cleaning the waiting room. He stumbles into the room to find that the professor is bald and wearing a toupee. He yells at Desao. That is when a young Ford comes in. The professor yells at both of them. Desao tells Ford that he doesn't really care about the professor, but he knows that he is going to be a bridge between Earthnoids and Spacenoids. This assumes that Earthnoids at one point danced with the idea of controlism, but once controlism started to be associated with anti-EFF sentiments, that went away. Desao has dinner with the professor. He tells Saki that he once told Daikun not to make bold declarations of independence, but that has long passed. They are eating something made with sky radishes, cultivated from Side 5. In the colonies, there are no seasons, and anything can be grown at any time of the year. Desao is living with the professor in exchange for doing housework. Let's take the high road and not make a sex joke. The professor has finished a draft of something he claims will subdue the chaos in space. As Desao escorts the professor, a man randomly shoots him and kills him. Desao says that if the professor were to live, this war may not have occurred. Back in the present, nothing is working, so Eddie gets out of the hover truck, only to be greeted by the 120mm machine gun of a Zaku. Suddenly Kong shoots it in the back and destroys the unit. Since we are now in the middle of action, I guess I'll use everyone's call sign. Cockroach wants to know where the President and Tough Dog are, but Kong is useless. She has to focus on stopping the jamming. Meanwhile, Yuji, aka Tough Dog, calls for Cockroach when he is shocked from behind by an Agai's heat rod. He slices through one, but the Agai has 4 total. As Hawk, aka the President, finds a beam saber, someone comes by and snatches his beam rifle. It is a Zogok. The MSM-08 Zogok is a variant of the Zogok and was also another mobile suit developed and designed at California Base by Zeon with the sole purpose of attacking Jaburo. This works in conjunction with the Juagu and is an amphibious unit. It has no head unit to reduce friction underwater. The large mono-eye camera in the center of the chest has a wide range of motion. It is equipped with a boomerang cutter, which is essentially a batarang, an extendable arm called the arm punch, a heat sword, a sternfaust, and a beam rifle with a 2.2 megawatt output. In UC 0096, wide cutters will be added to help with the cooling. The Zogok bends his beam rifle in half. Hawk uses part of the Ag's drill to stab the Zogok with one hand and stabs his beam saber using the other hand. The Zogok is able to hold him back, however. Sherry runs into a few people who claim to be lost. She tells them to follow her. The director uses this opportunity to get more footage of Yuji fighting. Yuji is hiding while trying to get in contact with his team, but the Agai grabs his leg and throws him across the base. Whee! The director caught it all on camera. He gets up from the fall to see 2 children in a car hiding. He yells at them to run away. The Agai uses the heat rod and destroys the overpass. It falls on top of the car. The gem gets shocked. As it comes in for another attack, Yuji gets up and punches it in its nose? I'm going to call it a nose. He is able to take out the Agai. Suhan watches Yuji take on 2 Zakus and another Agai. He beelines it right for one of the Zakus and does a shoulder throw, throwing one Zaku into the other Zaku. All that's left is the Agai. He rushes in. The Agai uses its heat rods, but Yuji rips them out of the arms. The Zeon mobile suit uses a flash grenade and rushes in. Yuji grabs his twin beam saber and impales it right through its mono eye. It ducked, but it didn't expect a second beam. Twin beam saber for the win. The Zogok shut off its boomerang cutter and is returning back. Hawk is trying to use sheer power on the Zogok, but decides to roll his opponent onto his back. He throws the Zogok right into its own boomerang cutter blades. Hawk says the lesson for the day is, if you can't push, try pulling. Eddie gets out of the hover truck with a power cord and tells some random EFF soldier to quickly plug this in. The hover truck only has 1 bar, man. The soldier says Commander Desao is allocating all the power currently. On top of the base, Desao is leading a bunch of Zakus into a trap. Eddie realizes the captain is in charge and everything will be alright. Sherry takes the shady guys to an evacuation sector, but of course they hold her at gunpoint and tell her to take them to the command center. Desao still doesn't know what Zeon's main objective is, but but he finally gets in contact with Eddie, who tells him about the potential for nukes. Bailey is like, "You idiots, they would have to steal our reserves and then try to activate them." A man comes rushing in to tell Bailey that they indeed stole their reserves and are trying to activate them. Bailey and his men go into action on foot. Hawk meets up with Yuji. He is moving the rubble. He gets out of his mobile suit and starts moving rocks by hand to find the 2 children that were hiding in the car. One of the kids' legs are broke. He grabs them and gets the kids to safety. And that will do it for this episode. As things break out, the balance of action and comedy strikes such a perfect balance in this manga. No more stealing panties, as Yuji must protect his fellow men. Next time, Yuji will save the children. We will learn more about Desao's past, and the kidnappers will make things go boom. But that will do it for now, new types. Remember, if Desao thinks something is wrong, something is wrong. Peace.